Hello, comrades, and welcome back to USHANKA show. Здравствуйте, товарищи. We are continuing our conversation about Soviet people and how they treated or related to the other nations. And today we're going to talk about how the Soviet people were what they were thinking about Finland and about Finnish people. There was a question about it in my last video. So the question was, nice video, curious about how Soviet views on Finnish people after World War II. As an American of Finnish descent, I'm curious about the relationship between Russia and Finland. Well, first of all, from my own experience, I don't think I ever met a Finnish person when I lived in Soviet Union. It happened way later when I had a layover in Helsinki on the way to Kiev when I was flying from the United States. But generally, since Finland was a neutral country and never joined NATO, so general attitude was pretty positive about Finland. There was nothing really bad in the news. Nothing was coming in the TV programs. So generally, we had a positive attitude about Finland. And of course, when it came to Finnish goods, they were in high demand and they were highly respected for the quality of product made in Finland. I think back in 70s and 80s, Finland was one of the biggest trading partners with Soviet Union. And I know Soviet women were dying for Finnish boots, saposhki, so shoes made in Finland. If you can get some of those, you'll be a really lucky person. It will be if you see a line of people in the front of the shoe store, there's a good chance maybe there's a Finnish shoe boots where it came for sale and people trying to buy some. Another popular product which a lot of people was trying to buy if it was available was not available in everyday purchases, but sometimes if they come up in the store, then there'll be another line and people buy. It was a brand of Viola. It's we call them plavlene soroks, melted cheese. It came with this really cool looking plastic container with the pretty blonde girl on the cover. And besides the eating cheese, most people actually kept those jars since things in Soviet Union weren't sold in plastic containers. It would be glass jars or maybe paper packets. So those containers by itself are popular not as a collector item, but as a practicality. You could keep screws or other loose small items. So Viola cheese was very popular. I also remember, I think we also had toothpaste from Finland. That was another popular item that people would buy. So Finnish goods, they were scarce, but they were real popular among Soviet people. So even if I personally didn't have experience with people from Finland, I knew that in Leningrad, which is right now called St. Petersburg again, that city went through quite a few names. People in Leningrad met Finnish people quite often because it's like a border city pretty much, right? The Finnish border is really close. And Leningrad was a popular place for Finnish tourists to visit, and not only tourists. So what I did, I asked the question on one of the there is a internet group of people who interested in history of Leningrad, and people post different pictures from way back, Soviet era or even prior that. So since I had this big slide collection from my father's long distant relative who traveled all over the world, I already showed that short video. I have quite a few slides of Leningrad in 1973. So I post pictures there and I decided, you know what? So I put PS. If you guys have anything to say about what the Soviet people thought about Finnish people back in 70s or 80s, please post the comment of this video. And response was amazing. I had a lot of cool, interesting comments, and we're going to go through those right now. So a lot of people in Leningrad, a lot of Soviet people thought that there was a law in Finland against consumption of alcohol. We call it sukhoi zakon, like dry law. So they thought it was a prohibition law in Finland that time. I'm not sure what was going on. I think just alcohol was really expensive in Finland, but Leningrad was the popular destination for Finns for cheap alcohol. They actually traveled to get drunk. So a lot of people share the memories of drunk Finnish people on the streets of Leningrad. They will bring goods with them, and we talked about it already before. They'll bring chewing gum, they'll bring jeans, and they'll trade it for vodka or just for Soviet money, for rubles, and then they buy alcohol. Maybe there were limits how much you can bring back to Finland, so they'll just get drunk. So there's a lot of people mentioned that they remember drunk Finns on the streets of Leningrad. One person said, well, Finn people were like the closest, most accessible foreigners for us. Some people look at them with envy because they were like from a different world. They were dressed differently, although some people mentioned that Finns always dress plain, nothing fancy in their clothing. One lady remembered that in a house next to her apartment building, there were some construction workers from Finland, and they were drinking a lot and being quite obnoxious. So they were really taking advantage of cheap alcohol in Soviet Union. Of course, there was some resentment about history, from the history of World War II. And another person mentioned that talking to Finnish people, if you could talk to them, we kind of understood the real story, because official version, Soviet version, there was a Finnish army attacked Soviet Union, like they barraged, did an artillery barrage, they killed some Soviet soldiers, and in response, Soviet army attacked Finland, which sounds really silly. Why would this tiny country attack Soviet Union? And that was really kind of stretch. So this lady mentioned that everyone pretty much understood why war started, and it went really bad for Soviets. And it said some older people who were veterans of war, they said, former Soviet soldiers, they said, Germans were okay. Sometimes they will be really bad and mean, and sometimes will be nice. He said all Finns during that war, they showed no mercy. So that was kind of memory from way back from that winter war of 1939, I believe, that Finnish soldiers never showed any mercy to the Soviet soldiers. As I mentioned earlier, made in Finland, for Soviet people, that meant high quality. They said shoes were in high demand. They also were, you could buy in Leningrad laundry detergent as a powder. That was a great item. Everyone was trying to buy that. It was a better quality than Soviet brands. Also, clothing was really in high demand. In some places around Leningrad, close to the border, it was possible to actually watch Finnish TV, so people like doing that. One thing was kind of, I guess, negative is, since Finland was a neutral country, they didn't have a policy of like Soviet refugees. So, for example, if you will abandon, embassy and ask for political assignment in America or Germany or England, they'll give it to you. But this person said, we knew that it was pretty easy to escape to Finland, but we're totally pointless because they will send you back. So no one was crossing border trying to ask for political asylum in Finland because they knew it would be fruitless. They'll be shipped back to Soviet Union and they'll be in trouble. Some people remember that as kids, they were told not to approach foreign tourists, including Finns. It was just forbidden because you can get in trouble. And, not to take any presents, no chewing gum, because I remember there was a talk that some foreign tourists, they will put razor blades inside of the chewing gum and give to Soviet kids, which sounds totally ridiculous. But I recall, and I believe that that's probably chance. One lady mentioned that she was a little girl, schoolgirl, and she thought as a little girl that Finland was actually a socialist country, because she couldn't believe that in a capitalistic countries people can be so nice and friendly. So she assumes since Finnish people are so nice and friendly, Finland should be a socialist country. Finnish people had a nickname, and I'm not sure what that means, but they were called pukurumchiks and turmaleis or turmalais. So there was a pukurumchik and turmalai. I'm not sure why. There is some word in maybe in Finnish means something, but that's what quite a few people mentioned. Oh yeah, those pukurumchiks or those turmalais. So for some reason, Finnish people had that nickname. There were quite a few jokes about Finland, but one is kind of funny. Is there's a part of the Soviet Union called Karelia, and I think it used to be part of Finland. So there was a joke that Karelia announced the war against Finland, and 5 minutes later they announced they capitulate and asked Finland to take over. Another joke was that that Finland used to be part of Russia, right, for many years, and then after revolution Finland became independent. So there was a joke that Vladimir Lenin gave Finland its independence as the thank you for hiding him, because he used to be in hiding in Finland before the revolution. So there's another interesting detail. So people knew that in Leningrad you can meet a lot of Finnish people. So in the 80s, there will be kind of almost like a hunt to marry a Finnish guy. And some girl mentioned, like, you should try it before he gets completely wasted, completely drunk. But there will be Soviet girls, Russian girls attempting to meet Finnish guys and try to marry and move out of the country. And the one lady said she remembers some lady came all the way from Siberia, and she was all business about, I want to marry a Finnish person and I want to move out of the Soviet Union. So she came all the way, as I said, from Siberia to Leningrad. She studied Finnish for 1 year, managed to learn enough, met some older a guy from Finland who had money. She met him, they married, and she moved to Finland and happily ever after in Finland. And actually there were teachers, some old teachers, that they were making extra money on the side by teaching Finnish language to the girls who wanted to meet a guy from Finland. So there was this like little business going on. And I bet towards the mid to end of 1980s, there were girls that were just making money, being sex workers, let's put it that way. And actually, I'll try to remember, I'll put the link below this video. There was a story that was really like famous and popular in the early 90s called Interdevachka. It's like International Girl. And then they made a movie about it based on that story. And that was about the girls that, they do prostitution with foreigners. And since, you can exchange like $1 American to 4, 5, 6 rubles, those girls were making a lot of money comparing with the girl that go and work as a nurse. So there's another part, there was a lot of going on. When the guys are drunk, they want to have fun, and there'll be girls available for the hard currency that will provide you services. Some Soviet people were lucky enough to actually go to Finland and visit Finland. And the one guy said he was very impressed with the stores because everything was so bright and pretty, and said even sugar was packed in nice white containers, not like this dull paper bags that sugar was sold in Soviet Union. So people liked how neatly country looked and how everything is bright and pretty. Well, so this is information I managed to find about how the Soviet people were thinking about Finnish people. I hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.
And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the USHANKA show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet